So I also read The Flash #1. This is the 2023 Flash that came out recently. This is written by Cy Spurrier, art by Mike Deodato Jr., colors by Trish Mulvihill, letters by Hassan Otsmani Elhow. Danny, basically, on our Discord, summed this up perfectly. Weird shit happens when you run really fast, and that is basically what this book is about. I really couldn't sum it up any better. But I feel like every time I think I know a few things about The Flash, I do just say, like, hey, let's try to read a Flash story. And it's like I'm diving into the entirety of Doctor Who, knowing nothing, despite me thinking I understand how things work. There's so much history that's relevant to the story that I can only hope that eventually things will make sense. That being said, though, this first issue does set up the dynamics of all of the characters well enough that even if you don't know the intricacies of the various Flashes or Mr. Terrific or Gorilla Grodd, by the end of issue 1, you at least get a feel drawn to whatever extremely weird thing Cy Spurrier is trying to do with this book. And you kind of understand how all of the characters are going to play their part, at least from the start. In an interview with Comics Beat, Spurrier said, "I've never had a hard time generating ideas. If anything, one of the criticisms I get is that I try to fit too many ideas into a single page of comics, and I think that's bollocks." I'm going to say it the most American way possible. I think there should never be too many ideas, but that appears to be okay in The Flash. I can get away with it. Nobody goes, hang on a minute, you've got too many ideas, calm down and chill out a bit. So yeah, it seems to fit. And I totally agree. This is a thing that I love about Spurrier's work in general, right? I think going all the way back to my beloved X-Men Legacy run that I will never, ever shut up about, up through all of the weird stuff that he's done through the Krakoan era of X-Men, everything that I've read, and his Hellraiser books that he's done. Hellraiser, Jesus. Constantine, Hellblazer, different series. His Hellblazer books, it's a totally different vibe, and it's always something that feels like just jam-packed with stuff. But what works the best about The Flash is that The Flash is running a mile a minute. Everything is happening super fast, and so to throw a ton of different ideas on multiple pages over and over, it totally makes sense for the series. Like, the bit is the Flash thinks faster than anybody else, right? Except for maybe Superman, which that's a whole other discussion. And so, like, to have Wally West or Barry Allen or whoever's on the page having a ton of thoughts and a bunch of ideas going on at once, it doesn't feel unnatural for that character because that's kind of their shtick. But anyways, I love this book because it has an incredibly dark feeling from the get-go compared to other Flash books, which I feel like is very bright, like the bright reds and yellows and stuff. Deodato Jr.'s art is, I think, if you've read any other book that he's worked on, has always been kind of dark. There's a lot of shadows. It's very like Andrea Sorrentino, where there's like this very strange panel layout and characters get these weird shadows and dark looks to them. And I feel like that's the vibe that they were going for with this book, because it's supposed to be kind of like a cosmic horror. And you find out in this first issue that there's something going wrong with the multiverse, because that's what's always happening with the Flash. And right. But it turns out that the multiverse is like turning speedsters into, this is a little spoiler, but it's turning speedsters into like these cosmic abyss, like monstrosities. And I don't know, I feel like it's very different than a lot of the other Flash stuff that I read. The most recent thing that I read before was the Joshua Williamson and Carmine Giamencio run, which was a fun book, but I dropped it because I ultimately just don't care that much about the Flash. But this is Cy Spurrier, so I'm at least going to try this book for a little while. So all I'm saying is this issue is dark and weird. I feel like it's right on brand for today's discussion, and I'm very glad that I read it. Like, I honestly think I might stop reading this on DC Infinite Universe and instead start picking it up. But like,
oh wow,
we'll see. I don't know. Big 2 books, so it's a whole other discussion. But
I don't normally read Flash either, but I thought that team made me curious about this, and now you have sold me on checking out that book.
It's cool. If you can at least read #1, like if you dig #1, I feel like this whole series is going to work for you. And I say that having only read #1, but I've heard that after issue 1, it gets even weirder, and I am totally here for that.
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, I like Cy Spurrier. He always brings something weird to the table.
Exactly. But let's move on.